Hey everybody, welcome back to Season 2, Episode 3 of Life in the Garden. I've been pretty busy, I'll admit, so I've got some video that I've been meaning to put up. Just a little overview of what's been going on here in the garden in the months of June and July. I'm going to follow that up with a rundown of the top insect pests to be on the lookout for the same months. June, July in New Hampshire, maybe a little earlier if you live down south, maybe a little later if you live up north. And then finally, we'll end today with the single most important garden life hack that you need ever. So, hope you enjoy this episode. Let's dive right in. So the asparagus did pretty well this year. It's always exciting first harvest. I enjoy it for several weeks and then I stop and let it grow. Don't want to overpick it. You might notice if you take a look at the asparagus bed, there's a lot of milkweed coming up in the middle of it. It doesn't seem to interfere with the asparagus. It comes up a little later than the asparagus plants and it doesn't grow anywhere near as tall, so I leave it there. And this is one of the main reasons I leave so much milkweed in my asparagus bed. The honeybees love the stuff. One thing is they get kind of stuck to it though. It's kind of funny to watch. This is why you keep your milkweed. Let me go, let me go. I'm stuck, I'm stuck. But it's so delicious. I'm stuck, but it's so delicious. I can't help myself. It's a native plant and I'd rather have that than something else growing up in there. So I don't consider it really a weed. I like having it around, in case you're wondering. And this right here is the single most important reason to keep milkweed in your garden. This is the larva of the Monarch Butterfly. Monarch is a species of butterfly that has been in steep decline during the last 30 years or so, and a lot of that has been attributed to habitat loss, and the only food source for the monarch caterpillar is milkweed. Milkweed has a chemical in it that provides a toxin that makes the monarch caterpillar unpalatable to things that might like to eat it. So if you don't have any milkweed, you don't have any monarch caterpillars, you don't have any monarch butterflies. The monarch is a pretty amazing butterfly in that it migrates from as far away as Canada and places like New Hampshire, where we are, all the way down to the southwest or Mexico, Central America, in order to overwinter. What you're looking at right there is 30 square feet of garlic planted, I think 5 per square foot, and it came up great. It's looking good. So a lot of people don't realize this about garlic. You plant it in the fall, and then it grows a little bit in the fall, takes root, and then that way in the spring it's one of the first things to pop up through the soil. I think I showed you a little bit of it earlier. And it's also one of the first real harvests you get after asparagus. There's usually a little bit of a lull. But then you get this garlic. Now it's not the part of the garlic you might expect. This is called a garlic scape. If I let it continue to grow, it'll turn into a flower stalk. They come up out of the top leaves. They have a little bit of a whiter color to them, and they're round instead of being flat like the leaves. These guys are almost ready to pick. Once they loop around once, I usually pick them. That way they're still kind of soft and tender. And you saute them just for a short while. They have a great garlic flavor. You can eat them raw, but they can be pretty hot and spicy like garlic. And when you cut these, it makes the plant send more energy down into the bulb, and that's the part of the garlic you want to harvest later on, probably in about 3 weeks or so. So really, cutting the scape and getting a nice garlic harvest right now is making my later garlic harvest, even better. It's a win-win. A lot of people don't know that about garlic. You get 2 harvests. So a lot of people let these go to seed, which is also fine, but then the bulb of the plant is usually smaller. So if you're going to do your garlic, plant in the fall, number 1, and then make sure you cut your scapes before they get too long. So that right there is the garlic scape. You can see how it sort of loops around. You want to cut it right down, right above the first leaf there, so that you're not cutting any of the leaves off the plant. And man, are they delicious. "32 square feet of peas." So I'd like to first off thank my father-in-law, Larry Veal, for the vertical trellis system here. Usually I grow snap peas in the dwarf variety. They look like that. But this year I'm trying out the full height with my new trellis. So thanks, Larry. And the peas are looking good. If you take a look down here, some of these are just about ready to pick. Looking great. You want to wait till they're nice and plump. That way they're super sweet. Then I've got the same going with beans. These ones are already sprouted, looking good. These ones are just planted. You can't see anything yet. Remember those nectarine flowers I was so excited about? Well, guys, this is the tree. Here it is. Check them out. Nectarines. Best looking nectarines I think I've ever seen. Well, on my trees anyway. My cousin Denise was kind enough to send me some Scarlet Runner pole beans. So that's what these stick contraptions are for. Hopefully the bean plants will grow up the sticks. I'll keep you posted on that. I've got tomatoes going here. I've got some squash plants over there. I've got all kinds of things. Corn, onions, carrots, and a ton of broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts and peppers. This entire row of sunflower plants were all volunteers that came up from the 4 plants I had going last year. All of this lettuce that you see here in the frame, this is all also volunteer, came up. I didn't plant it. I just moved it to these locations. So I've got just about everything planted. I still will be doing a little more throughout the summer. Multiple plantings of beans and peas and that kind of stuff, but the bulk of the heavy work is done and I am exhausted. Now's the time when the garden's young, all the plants are young, very vulnerable, and you have to be hyper vigilant because it seems like everything you try to grow in your garden has a specific pest, mostly insect pest, that is going to go after it. So you got to be on the lookout. This stuff is gonna sneak up on you, and pretty soon you won't have anything to harvest unless you're paying attention and know what to look for. So we're gonna run through a couple of the common ones. This time of year, be on the lookout for asparagus beetles. This right here is the spotted asparagus beetle. It's sort of a bright reddish orange. A lot of people confuse it with a ladybug. It is not a ladybug. The other type of asparagus beetles right in the center of the frame here, this is the common asparagus beetle. Very small. Relatively quick. The best way to catch them is to put your hand underneath them and knock them into your hand, or you can knock them into like a cup of soapy water or something. As is the case with many beetles, it's not the adult that does most of the damage, it's the larval stage. The larva of a beetle most often looks like a little grub or something like that, nasty little caterpillar type thing. So here in the center of the screen you see a larva of an asparagus beetle, and if you see these, you probably have quite a few of them. The best thing to do to get rid of them is just squeeze them. So here you see another one of the common asparagus beetles, and just to the right of it, it's very small, is one of its, or 2 of its eggs. This is how they lay their eggs, on the underside of one of the little needle leaf petals of the asparagus plant. Squash and cucumber plants, you want to look under the cotyledons. These will provide some perfect hiding spots for cucumber beetles and squash bugs. Cucumber beetles, like this one here, really enjoy hiding under the bottoms of the plants, squash plants, cucumber plants, and they will bore into, eat up the base of the stem or the undersides of the leaves, and they can transmit some sort of plant virus that can have a really negative effect on the overall health of the plant and eventually can kill it altogether. So find them, search for them around the base. They also like to go in the flowers, where they tend not to do a whole lot of damage, but they're meddlesome and you don't want them around. One of your smellier garden pests is right underneath this bottom leaf branch of a squash plant. This is the squash bug, and that's exactly what you want to do to them. Take them and squash them. They reek when you squash them. Don't smell it. It's just foul. I don't even know. One of the most annoying garden pests is the cabbage worm. The cabbage worm is actually the larval stage of cabbage moth, and they blend in so well. They like to do this. They hide right along like the leaf vein. See it right there? Right in the center? Just poked it. Right? See it? There it is. So what you want to do is just take these. The chickens love them. If you have chickens, you can give them to the chickens. If you don't have chickens, you definitely want to crush them. Potato plants are tricky. You want to look underneath the foliage for eggs of the potato beetle. They'll be like a reddish orange color. You also want to search through the leaves to see if you can find any of these guys. There's one of the top 10 worst garden pests right there in the center. That is the adult Colorado potato beetle right there. These guys nestle into the leaves and hide pretty well despite their size and their pretty bright color pattern. They can be difficult to spot in a healthy, fully leaved potato plant. So if you have these guys, you definitely want to be on the lookout for eggs and larvae. And if you get the adults, that's always the best. Just crush them. They're slow. They tend not to fly away like a lot of the other beetles that you're looking for. So just crush them. Get rid of them. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pay very close attention now because I'm about to teach you the single most important garden life hack secret of all time. And it's this. You take your average jar of salsa, doesn't matter the brand, this happens to be Trader Schmo's. Not great, mediocre at best. You open it up. You dump it into a bowl. Now this is the part you really need to focus in on. You go to your garden. You cut some cilantro, fresh cilantro. Now you take your cilantro, you put it in the bowl, and you mix it. The more the merrier. Load it up. Ladies and gentlemen, what we did right there was take something ordinary and make it extraordinary. You see, on the surface it seems like it's all about salsa and cilantro. But in reality, everybody's got some cilantro in their life. You know what I'm saying? Find your cilantro. Make the ordinary extraordinary. Thanks so much for watching. This has been another fun episode of Life in the Garden. Get out there in the garden and enjoy. That's the best salsa I've ever tasted.